What's up, y'all? We trying something a little different today. It's actually gonna be the start of my podcast, and it's called the Mure Mind with your host, Drum Mure. On today's podcast, we're gonna try to, we're gonna start off going into trauma, like of childhood trauma and stuff like that, and then we just see where it ventures off to. Personally, me, just a little insight of why I may act the way I act now. I did grow up in a two-parent household, but what a lot of people don't understand is just because you grew up in a two-parent household doesn't mean it's a loving experience. I've seen my parents physically assault each other. I've seen my parents pull weapons on themselves and act like it's the other person, and it creates an unhealthy image of what a relationship should be like for you, the child, as you grow. And instances that I could see this myself, kind of like, what it did to me is when I was younger, me and my mother never really had the best relationship. And the relationship me and my father had stemmed from me trying to get at girls and him telling me how I should always try to get a girl, always get multiple, never really commit yourself to one woman because bitches ain't shit and yada yada yada. And growing up, it's like I had that mindset. So I was always, whenever I get with a girl, I'm thinking, okay, this is it's like a sexual conquest. I'm trying to conquer this person instead of actually get to know them as a person. And anytime I'd actually attempt to get to know the person, I would forcefully self-sabotage. I would ruin relationships. I would because, I know what upsets people, and I would, psychoanalyze them. And then once I got that, the little information that I needed, that I knew would upset them, I would intentionally do that, increment by increment until they finally felt like it was their idea to stop messing with me. When the truth is, most times, I just wanted to stop messing with them first. And I got that from just seeing my father for many years just kind of like poke the bear with my mother and just seeing how she would react and how, like, well, for me, y'all, it's just like, I didn't have a nurturing mother. Not to say that she doesn't attempt that now, but it's like I'm 19, but it's like growing up, I never had a nurturing mother. I had a mother that was attempting to make me tough, because the world is not an easy place, in any means. It's not. And I'm grateful that what she could do, she did the best, I guess. But it's just like parts of me really do wish I had that nurturing mother. I had that woman I could look to whenever things got bad, and I didn't. I never really had that, and that shit really fuck with me because I just look at my relationships, like I always went for older women, and it's like the mommy issues just really start to ring. Like I go for women that is like 10, 13 years older than me. Those are women that I find attractive, and the women my age I never really found attractive because I just kind of saw them as childish. And I think that stems from the fact that I had to grow up really fast because I always looked older. So I was always treated as if I was older. And I never really had an opportunity to, I guess, fully live out a childhood, And while you're going through it, you're not thinking about it. You're just like, you're in survival mode. You're just like, all right, I need to get through this. I need to get through this day. Whatever I got to do, whatever personality I have to put on, just to survive, I'm going to do that. And when I start to realize and look back, and it's just like, I didn't really, and I don't really have friends. I have people that I've known for a long time, and if you want to consider history being the factor that makes someone your friends, then sure, I have friends. But when it comes to certain things like, I guess, interests and what we enjoy doing, I don't really have friends that like doing what I do, And it's just like they fall into either one or two categories. They either are trying to prey on me or they're trying to drain me like a leech, And I just started to realize like I have a lot of leeches in my life that who only associate with me because I feel like I hold a certain status from a social media play. And can we just get into social media, y'all? Like, what the fuck does any of this shit mean, really? You know? Like, what the fuck does social media mean? And I know some people are probably looking back like, what the fuck, you have like 500,000 fucking, followers. Like, of course you know what it means. But it's like, what the fuck does it mean? Like, does me having those followers make me a fucking better person? I don't think it does, personally. I mean, I just, there's people that get so caught up in social media and they just think that having this amount of followers makes them a better person than anyone else. And that shit is crazy to me because I'm like, how the fuck does this follower amount equate to you being higher on the social, I guess, ladder than, say, this person over here that only has 2 followers or 3 followers? Because I mean, being a creator, in quotations, you interact with a lot of people and you start to realize a lot of these people, they put on a certain image for the internet, but in reality, they don't act like that. Like, there's a lot of, for those that don't know me, my main thing that I do for social media is TikTok. And there's a lot of TikTokers, actually, that they put on a certain image, like, be that a super respectful one or a super angry, mean one. They put on a certain image for the internet, but when you speak with these people, this not the vibe at all. It's not the vibe. And I've noticed that, I get a lot of I get a lot of backlash because I'm authentic and I kind of just say what comes to my mind, or I give both sides of each of the given scenario, and it's like I get hated on for that. But people will just, they will blatantly lie to your face, and it's like I see a lot of people eating that shit up, and that shit is crazy as fuck to me. I'm like, how could you? I'm like, it's crazy because I'm like, you don't know that this person does not rock with you. You don't know that shit. And they do not rock with whatever they're spewing to you. They don't fuck with you. Like, I just see all these creators and stuff like that, and I think about what their fan base is, and their fan base is usually really young, impressionable minds, and most of these kids don't know that the people you're looking up to, you're trying to follow, aren't good people. They're genuinely bad people. And it's like when they get someone, that's authentic, they get hated on, or they're like, oh, they're saying too much, or they're this, or they're that. And I'm like, I can respect you more for saying what you want to say than saying some shit you just think you're supposed to say, And that just kind of, it was the same way in high school, I had some form of status in high school, quotations, because I played football and I was good at football, But I was never that kid that enjoyed getting a lot of attention. And I think that stems back from being the first male, in my family, being the first male born in my family, and being the oldest child. You get a lot of attention. Like, they put you on this pedestal as if you're this golden angel child, when the reality is, it's like, I'm just another person, just like, that person, just like this person. And it's like when people put you on a certain pedestal, they raise their expectations for you, and it's like when you don't fit those expectations, you feel like a failure. It's like you feel like a failure for not doing something that you don't want to do. And as I look back on my life and I'm reflecting, I'm just thinking, like, there's a lot of shit that I do and that I have done that I truly did not give a fuck about. Like, for example, football. I was naturally, like, athletic and gifted from a genetic standpoint, but I didn't really like football. I did football because my dad said that I should be doing football. And then it just happened to pick up, and then I got good at the shit. And it really didn't hit me that the only reason I was playing football was to make other people happy until actually after I had injured my right clavicle. I broke it during it was like a little football camp. I broke it. And when you have to sit on the sideline and you just have to really think like, damn, no matter, it's like you're a prisoner in your own body. And anyone that's had a sports injury or anyone that's just been injured in general, like, like, feeling like a prisoner in your own body gotta be the worst shit in the world. Because it's like, that is your body. And you can't do, like, I want you to think, how many times a day do you think about what your collarbone, your clavicle does for your body? You probably don't think at all. You probably look at, maybe take your shirt off, you're like, oh, they need to look nice, or I wish they were more toned, but you don't really think of what this bone does until you don't have the shit no more. And I was just like y'all. But it's like when you break a clavicle, you can't rotate your arm. You can barely pick shit up. I didn't know there was tendons in there that connected to your fucking bicep that allow you to fucking flex. You can't really do shit. And it's like I had to go under like anesthesia and knife, and they put like 9 fucking nails in my shit, like. And yeah, it's healed now in quotations, but it's like, I feel it. It's not me. Like, I can't lay my arm a certain way, otherwise it'll cut circulation off from the nerve. When it gets cold, the metal in my body starts to ache. It's just a really fucked up experience. I'm not gonna lie. If you've never been injured, I would not recommend getting injured. It is not a fun experience. Let me say that for sure. It's not fun. When you get hurt, you can't do shit. What else? What else are we gonna talk about? We're just talking about trauma. What else can we really delve into from the aspect of trauma? Sexual trauma. People don't really realize this. And it's really sad to hear, as I talk with people, like a lot of people have actually been violated at a young age. And it shows, and it showed in me, like as I've grown, I was extremely promiscuous and extremely sexual, like over-sexualized. Like everything I wanted to do revolved around sex. And that was because I felt that my worth came from sexual encounters. I felt that, making a woman feel good, like giving her an orgasm or whatever, that made me have a value and a purpose. And as I was running through and, just having sex with all these people, I was just starting to realize, like, I don't know anything about these people I'm sleeping with. No protection, I'm just sleeping with these people. They could have anything. They could have fucking AIDS, HIV, fucking herpes, all types of shit. And I'm just sleeping with these people. And I guess in a way, one could even call it a form of self-harm, because it's like you're doing these things in the subconscious hopes that you do catch something, because you feel like that's what you deserve. And can we just start talking about like how the only form of self-harm is not fucking cutting yourself? Because I think people, and especially like, adults, they just think with their kids, oh, as long as my kid's not cutting themselves, they're good. And it's like, no, like, they could be putting themselves through, yes, physical self-harm with cutting, but sexual self-harm, sleeping with a bunch of people they don't know, drug abuse, self-harm, fucking just lifestyle self-harm. Like, they could be putting themselves in extremely high-risk situations where it's a 50-50 chance of survival, and, you could be looking at it as, oh, they're taking risks, but the truth is they're trying to kill themselves, but they just don't want to straight up, because it's like when people say, it's like, what people have to understand is like when people say, I want to kill myself, to me personally, right, what that sounds like to me is you want to kill off something within yourself. Because if you wanted to truly kill yourself, I feel like you would do it and succeed, and that would be it. So I feel like most people have the sensation of just not wanting to be here anymore because life is difficult. And I can agree with that. Life is pretty fucking tough at times, Like, there's a lot of shit, especially as you grow up, you got bills and shit. You got to worry about loved ones, and it's just a lot of shit that comes up in life that as a kid you never really thought about. And so to all the youngins out there, I doubt there's gonna be any like young little kids listening to this podcast. But to all the youngins out there, like, don't be in a rush to grow up, because I'm telling you, this shit is not fun. It is not fun to grow up, y'all. It is not. You don't get to do... You literally just have way more fucking responsibilities. And you don't get to do shit fun for free anymore. And it's like... something that was always funny to me is how parents stopped giving you money as you got older, but they would give you money when you were younger. And then that same money that they would give you when you were younger, they would just end up taking from you and just saying, let me hold this. Which is crazy as fuck to me. I'm like, you gave me this money, but then you just took it back from me. It's, I don't know. Shit was weird as fuck. What else can we delve into? This one, what I'm about to talk about right now, is particularly with family, black families, and how mental health is taken. A lot of black families, right, have a lot of young boys and young girls that struggle severely with mental health, but because they're so ashamed that their child may be suffering from something, they'll just ignore it. Or they'll act like, oh, it's because of that phone, it's because you're on social media. And I'm not gonna act like social media does not play a part in, feeling how you feel sometimes. It's like if you're seeing someone live a life that you would deem better than yours every single day over and over and over, that can definitely have an impact on your mental health as a whole. But for the most part, it's like, we gotta start talking about like generational trauma. If your mom or dad grew up and got abused viciously, I truly feel like a part of that is now ingrained within their DNA, your DNA, and you're gonna have, to reap some of those fucking punishments. And it's fucked up, because I just think like, I used to tell my parents this all the time, like every single day. I used to be like, if I wasn't so strong-minded, I would be a perfect serial killer, because it's just like, all the things I've been through growing up as a kid, like, I had to get good at lying, I had to get good at manipulation, I had to get good at faking emotions, like, and it was a survival thing. Like, I just had to adapt. Like, I call myself a chameleon or a mimic, because anything I'm shown, I can portray that image back, and you would barely be able to tell a difference. And I would just tell my parents, like, yeah, I'd be joking, but I'd be dead ass serious too, because, I'd be having intrusive thoughts, I'd be fucked up. Like, I ain't never hurt nobody, but I'd be, y'all know them thoughts, you just be, them loud voices in your head, and you hear shit, and it'll say some crazy, wild ass shit. And you be like, why the fuck did I just say that in my head? What the fuck? Like, you feel bad. Like, you're like, why the fuck did I just say this shit in my head? But I would never do this, but it's like, why did I say this shit? And it's just like, I truly feel like, talking to yourself is healthy. And I feel like saying what you feel, what you think intrusively out loud also helps, because I feel like if you don't acknowledge it, then it actually starts to have power, and then you actually start to really believe in what you're thinking. Like, a lot of people that know me would be like, Jordan's crazy, or, he's a very strange person, because I talk to myself a lot. I talk to myself every single day, full conversations. I talk back sometimes, like I'll say something and the other part of my personalities will say something, but it's just like, I just feel like I'm hashing out issues with myself, like conversation wise. And I feel like that's important in life, just to be able to talk to yourself. I feel like so many people nowadays get so caught up on depending on other people that they have truly lost how to actually be alone with themselves. And I noticed that in high school, because, I used to sneak out and go to parties and shit like that. And it's like, these people would just get high and drunk with each other, but wouldn't even like each other. Like, I remember people getting drunk and high with people that they would come to me and tell me that they hated these people. And I'm like, how did you just go from hating this person, right, to fucking, now you want to get fucked up with them? See, me, I don't got enough trust for that shit. And that, my lack of trust may, stem from whatever point you want to pick in my fucking childhood. But personally, I don't do drugs and or alcohol anymore, because addiction runs in my family. I have a grandpa that is a recovering addict. I had a great grandma that, was an addict, and I have alcoholics in my family. I just have a lot of addiction that runs in my family, and I think that really started to show itself with sex, but also psychedelics. And this isn't me down talking, talking shit about psychedelics. I feel like every person should take a psychedelic at least one point in their life to get a different perspective of what reality truly is. But, you know, with me, like, when I like some shit, I start to abuse it. And then I just take more and 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 more. And it was, I remember at the height of the addiction, there was one night I was really just down. I was just really down. Like, I was not feeling good about life. Everything was just shitty as fuck. And I remember I was just listening to some music in my bed, and I ate shrooms in my and I just had my fucking hoodie on in my bed, and I'm crying my eyes out. Like, it's one of them cries where it's like you're screaming, but it's silent. You know, them silent screams like that. And then it's just like, I went for a jog, and I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I went for that jog with the full expectation of not coming back that night. Thought I was gonna kill myself, I thought I was gonna die. And so I'm on psychedelics, you know, I'm walking on the block and shit like that. And in my mind, I see someone getting robbed. And then the person pulled out a gun. And like instinct took over, I just bolted, ducking behind cars, you know, running, zigzagging and shit, trying to get home. And when I made it home, you know, I started crying, and I started to realize I didn't want to die because I fought so hard to get home. It was just something in me that I was unhappy with that I needed to try to fix. And I mean, and to be truthful, like with y'all, like I still don't know what the fuck's wrong with me fully, you know? I don't. I have days when I feel pretty decent, you know, and then I have days when I just feel like I should have been aborted, you know, and then I just wish my parents had like actually gone through with their initial plan of the abortion, but they didn't. And for those that don't know this story, I laugh at it now, but I'm pretty sure we all just have to laugh at our trauma to get through shit. I was actually meant to be aborted. My parents were actually on their way to the clinic to get an abortion, and they had stopped and got some pizza, and they just decided, hey, you know what? We're gonna keep this baby. And that's why I have an affinity for pizza now, you know, because it's just like, it kind of technically, you could say it saved my life or whatever. But like, no, I just think about that shit, and it's just like, it really fucks with a kid. Like, I mean, my parents told me, I don't know if I'm glad they told me that story, but like, they told me, but it's just like, when you don't feel wanted as a kid, you do a lot of shit to try to feel wanted, and you try to seek this validation from the wrong people. And the way I would do that was with sex, you know, like I said before. And people will always ask me, do I want to have kids? And one of the main reasons I say no is because I have a list of disorders, but you know, the main ones: bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety. You know, I have slight, borderline personality disorder. Like, I have a lot of fucked up shit that goes on in my head. Anger management issue, like a lot of fucked up shit. And it's like, I feel like I got some of this shit from my parents, and I just feel like if I can get this shit from my parents, I can give this shit to my child, and I feel like giving this to my child would be fucking torture. Because it's torture for me. Every day I get up is fucking torture. Like, I do things to try to occupy my mind and get through shit, but it's fucking torture. This shit's not... It's like a living hell. You know? When you're stuck in your own brain, like when your mind's at war with itself, that's the scariest place you can be sometimes. It's literally just in your own fucking head. You just start to think about shit, all the decisions you make, and they just start to replay. Because I have a very vivid imagination, so it's like every decision I've ever made in my life just starts to replay over and over and over and over. And you just start to think like, why did I make this decision here? I could have did this there. Why didn't I do this more here? And it's like, I get people tell you not to like live in the past, but sometimes the past is the only thing that keeps you going for the future. It's just fucked up. I just think of past relationships and past friendships, people I've known for years that I had to cut off because they started to show me that they weren't good for me. And that shit hurts, you know. It shit really does suck when you have to cut off when life shows you have to cut off someone that you had immense love for, I don't give a fuck what the situation was as to why you had to cut that person off. The shit hurts. It don't feel good, man. The shit don't feel good. Like, I had people I had to cut off that I've known since I was like 7 years old. Just because, one major misunderstanding, and it wasn't the misunderstanding itself. It was the principle behind the misunderstanding. Like a lot of people, and that's where a lot of people fuck up nowadays. They don't understand that there's principalities behind shit. Oh, you tripping, Jordan. See, this is what a lot of people do now, that they try to dismiss how you feel by throwing words like you're crazy, you're tripping, what's wrong with you? It's not that shit. They throw shit out like that at you to try to deflect, how you should feel. And it's always the craziest shit to me, because I'm like, how the fuck are you going to tell me how the fuck I should feel? How the fuck are you going to tell me how I should feel about a given situation? No, Jay, you tripping, bro. You shouldn't feel like that. No, it ain't that serious. Man, stop acting like a bitch. That is the most toxic shit. Y'all talk about toxic masculinity? That's some toxic shit right there, bro. When they equate having emotion to being a feminine trait, and any sign of showing that emotion, and it's like they equate showing emotion to be a feminine trait, and then they equate that feminine trait with weakness. And people gotta understand, every soul is gonna have, some masculine and feminine energy. Like, that's just how balance in life fucking works. Like, there's gonna be masculine energy and there's gonna be feminine energy. And a girl can have an overload of masculine energy, and a man can have an overload of feminine energy. And that don't make them, not who they are. That's just how life, life requires balance. My bad. We started with trauma, and we got the fucking masculine and feminine energy. That shit is crazy as fuck. Well, since we're on the topic of trauma, I tried talking about this shit on TikTok, but motherfuckers wasn't trying to hear this part. But it's no secret that there's a huge disconnect in the black community between our men and our women. And I had said this. I had said, yes, there are a large amount of black men that date outside their race for the simple fact of feeling like they're superior for doing so. But I also said that I feel that the relationship between a son and his mother is extremely important in formulating, I guess, the recipe for all other relationships you will have going forward. Like, because there's I see a lot of dudes on TikTok, like black men on TikTok, bashing black women, and they'll be dark-skinned dudes, and then the girls in the comments will be like, isn't your mom dark-skinned? And what I started to think, of course there's that initial thought. I'm like, yeah, they could just be like, a self-hating black person. But I like to dig a little deeper, and I like to think how was their relationship with their mother? Because what you have to understand sometimes is a lot. It's in the black community. I'm not even gonna say especially in the black community, because I'm pretty sure this happens in all communities. But mothers will attempt to emasculate their sons if they feel threatened by that son's presence. They'll try to beat the shit out their fucking sons. They'll try to make him extremely fucking feminine or soft, and just take away a lot of masculine qualities of their son to try to make themselves feel better and both bring him down. And I feel like after years of enduring, that type of treatment, some men will grow up and just seek for the polar opposites of their mothers. For example, if you're dark skinned, your mother was dark skinned your whole life, you'll never had a good relationship. She used to always beat the shit out of you as a kid, just tear you down emotionally, just tell you were weak, you'll never be this. When you grow up as a man, you may seek women that look nothing like your mother. And this isn't an attempt to justify colorism, because that shit's weird as fuck to me. Like, there's no way someone's color is going to, tell me how bad she is. But it's just like, what I'm saying is, I feel like the relationship with the son and the mother is important. The same way the relationship with the father and the daughter is important. Like, if a father is not showing his daughter how she should be treated by a man, she will never know how to be treated by a man. And she will go out and seek validation and attention from the wrong men, who will most likely just use her for her body and then discard her like she was nothing. And I know a lot of people right there listening like, oh, I don't want to hear this shit, but that's just the truth. Like, this is not a nice world we live in. And no matter how you want to kind of spin this little, fairy tale, no matter how much people want to try to talk about it one way or another, this world is really fucked up. It's really fucked up. And if you don't keep your head on the swivel, you might, metaphorically and physically get that shit knocked off. One thing my dad did tell me was, son, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And the way I take that in life is, whatever life throws at me, no matter, I might have those times where I break down, I cry, I feel worthless, but you just keep pushing and you adapt to survive. It's just like Darwin was saying. It's in this world is legitimately survival of the fittest. I think the problem is, right, humans, since we become so technologically advanced, we kind of see ourselves as more than just fucking animals. And at our core, that's what we are. Let everything go dark tomorrow. Phones gone, social media gone, whatever platform you guys are hearing this shit on, it's gone. Let this shit go back to the dark ages, and we're gonna see how primal motherfuckers really get. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna get fucked up. It's gonna get real life fucked up. Cause a lot of people that aren't ready to live in a world like that. And where I see that at is definitely in fucking internet trolls. I mean, people will just, and this is the reason, on the internet, right, everyone's the same size. You get in an argument with someone, you just tapping away on the fucking screen. You have nothing to worry about. Which is why I think, which is why I know, and people that don't like me, shit talk me, in person wouldn't even look at me. I'm 6'3", 210 pounds. I'm not the biggest guy out, but I'm pretty fucking big. And I think when you're on the internet, people don't realize, like, hey, like, in person, if I said what I said now to you, I would get punched in the fucking mouth. And I think people really need to start realizing that again. Because I think people genuinely forget, like, you can get punched in the fucking mouth. No question, you can get punched in the mouth. Freedom of speech doesn't save you from, freedom of speech does not equate to freedom of consequence, If you're a racist motherfucker and you steady calling this person a nigger and that person a nigger, and online, Xbox Live, you probably get away with that shit. But if you try to call that same man that word and, face to face, you might not walk away the same. And I think a lot of people got to realize, like, don't say shit unless you are truly 110% willing to back it up. That's just that. I think a lot of people in this generation gotta remember, like, you gotta be able to back up what you talk. No, maybe not right now, but it's gonna come a time when that barking is not. You gonna have to start biting. It's dog eat dog out here, bro. It's for real dog eat dog. Like, shit ain't fair. The world will never be fair. No matter how much money you get, no matter what your fucking social status is, the world will never be a fair place. It'll always be a ruthless, cunning, sick, twisted, and simultaneously beautiful, stunning, wild, crazy, magnificent place. And that's just the planet we live on. It's just not fair. But the lack of, fairness don't make it any less beautiful. But that's just something I had to just think about, like, it's a lot of beautiful aspects to this world. Birth, seeing a baby, like, new life, nature is beautiful. certain smells and scents are beautiful. Certain quality time you get to spend with different people can be beautiful. And I just think sometimes when you get stuck in that void of darkness and sadness, you start to forget that, you know, sometimes you have to appreciate the little things in life. Now, I know y'all probably like, oh, Jordan, hey, how you gonna tell us that you don't do it? Look. I never claim to be fucking perfect, okay? I'm just here. I'm just a dude talking to himself on a fucking screen, you know? And whoever has the free time to listen is listening, and that's just that. Yeah, this is my first, you know, go around at the Mure Mind, my podcast. Again, hosted by Jordan. If you guys like it, let me know. If you don't like it, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna still do this. Shit's fun. But yeah. And on that note, I'm gonna have to go.